week's episode of One Piece is gonna put hair on your chest, because it was manly. A veritable manwich of badass piratey goodness. The stuff you love from the One Piece anime series. We had Jesus Burgess throwing down with Sabo and his hockey-infused dragon claw. We had Frankie going cyborg to sword with Bastille of the Navy. And then it all ended with Zoro getting ready to throw down with the titanic massive stone golem, Pica. Yeah, I liked this episode. It was the balls. And you should definitely check it out if you're a One Piece fan. But before I begin my review, I just want to mention that here at Super Kami Guru 9000, Christian and I have just decided to start reviewing the One Piece manga series. So if you guys want to check out our very first review, there will be a link for that at the very end of this video. Watch it, like it, share it with your friends, and stay tuned for all of the brand new One Piece content we have in the pipeline. And I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm going to try my best to keep spoilers to a minimum for anime-only watchers. Just keep in mind, every once in a while, I might let something slip, and I might hint to things that might happen later. It's just, I'm going to try my best. But let's talk about this week's episode, which was awesome! It actually opened up with the Tontada tribe, Nico Robin, and Usopp getting ready to take down Sugar and Treble, and I love how ridiculous Treble is. He takes out a fly with his weird sticky snot abilities, and it's literally like a cannonball just going through a wall. It's ridiculous, and he's not even trying, so obviously he's one of the top executives of Doflamingo's crew. He's going to be a real threat, and Usopp is basically shitting a brick as usual, but then Leo decides he's going to run out until Nico Robin stops him, and they don't get back to it until then. But that's when we finally go back to Kurita Coliseum, and we get to see Jesus Burgess' true abilities, which is his weird hockey-infused armor that he actually has on his arm, which he charges up to use this elbow attack, which he uses to take care of this fighting fish, and then eventually he goes toe-to-toe with Sabo, and Sabo uses a hockey-infused Dragon Claw martial arts technique, and they both hit each other at the same time, and the effect here is great. I love the blue lighting behind them. I love the lightning crackling off as they're punching each other. It's just really exciting. And even when that's done, there's more action. It's kind of a one-sided fight, but it's Lao Ji actually fighting against the toy soldier, and he punches the crap out of him. And it's a shame, too, because, you know, he can't really do too much. He's a one-legged little toy soldier, and Lao Ji just completely went assassin on his ass. But I have to admit that it was really cool, and it's weird. I'm not really sure, like, what it is he does, like, with his abilities, like, when he puts his glasses on and off, but it's really funny, especially when he takes out that one Tontada tribe member, the guy who I think is actually a zone type. I think he actually does have the ability to transform. Otherwise, there's actually more action with Pica, which is really freaking awesome because we get to see some stuff from Zoro and Luffy, and it's all really well animated, and just the creepiness of Pica is really awesome because he hasn't said a word yet. When he finally does speak, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what everyone's reaction is going to be to that, because I can't wait to see what they're going to make his voice sound like in the anime, because in the manga version, it's just kind of insane. That's really all I'm going to say about that. But eventually it all ends where Zoro just decides, look, if we're going to get any further in this battle, I'm going to have to stop and fight against Pica, and he gets real fired up, and he just looks so pissed off at the end as he's getting ready to go up against this disgusting, emotionless, massive stone monster. And I didn't even mention all the scenes with Wicca and Kinemon, because basically it's just a goofy comedy scene. But those action scenes this week, whoo, they were tops. And I didn't even talk about Frankie and Bastille. It was very, very short. But Bastille's awesome with his big super saw sword, knocking Frankie across the frickin' arena. And then there's a really weird scene where, oddly enough, the most detailed artwork of the week was basically Senor Pink's ass. Yeah, just seeing his weird Speedo, like, swim trunks, and they focused in on it, and it was strange when he was basically trying to give Dellinger a lesson about being a pervert. But I mean, that's what Senor Pink is there to do. He's there to weird you out after a weird, wacky action scene. So what's the rundown? On this week's episode of One Piece, I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the pacing. I loved how there was a lot of different things going on, and every scene had something really cool going for it. The opening scene was really tense, especially with the fact that Treble can just destroy a fly behind him in an instant. What's also really interesting is just that Jesus Burgess' armor has already been destroyed by Sabo. I am slightly disappointed by that, but I'll be damned if that wasn't a really cool scene, and I especially loved how they hyped it up with him taking out the fish first, and then all the fish slowly starting to come in battle. Diamante this week was also really awesome. Just I love the effects on his sword, how they wiggle around and how they transform, and he definitely doesn't want Sabo to get that Mera Mera no Mi. Luffy this week was awesome. He had a few cool standout scenes just doing Gatling fighting against Pica, but Zoro is going to be his ultimate opponent, and it's one that I really can't wait to see because it's just awesome. And again, like I said, I just can't wait to hear Pica's voice. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see everyone's reaction to that. This was just a standout episode filled with a lot of really great moments, and none of them were too outlived. In fact, I was really shocked how they opened up with the episode and they decided to go back to Kurita Coliseum, but I wasn't complaining when I saw that freaking Dragon Punch going up against that elbow attack. That was just so incredibly satisfying and awesome, and I loved the effect of him charging up his arm, like the ripple effect. I just thought that looked really cool. And of course, Sabo this week was just freaking awesome. And of course, Diamante's even starting to notice that it's probably not Luffy, the Mugiwara, as he likes to say. I love when they call it that. So this was a really good episode. It had great animation, great artwork, great atmosphere. The voice acting, as always, is just fantastic in this series. It's always just so much fun. The soundtrack, as always, is very appropriate. And the action this week. Oh, the action this week was just so satisfying. I love that hand-to-hand combat type of stuff. And this week's episode had a lot of fun doing that. And just the prospect of Zoro going up against Pica, that's got to get any One Piece fan excited, because Zoro is always just such a fun badass to watch. So I'm giving this week's episode a 5 out of 5. I have no complaints with it. I thought it really did the manga justice, and it's moving really quick, and all the action scenes were just awesome. It's great. Check it out, One Piece fans. You will not be disappointed. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and like the video. Make sure to share it with your friends, and please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of One Piece. Did you have a favorite action scene from this week's episode? What do you want to see from the rest of the Dressrosa arc? Make sure to subscribe to our channel if you have not already. You can do that by clicking on the channel icon right up here in the top. You guys can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.